Welcome back to Mini-Modelog. This week I'm going to talk to you about how I got back into wanting to do Age of Sigmar. Obviously I talked about this in last week's news, so if you haven't had a look at that already, do go check that out. But what it was I have a friend who plays it at work, and his son plays it, and they've started playing, and I was telling him about a Skaven army I had, and he said, well, why don't you dig it out and see if it'll fit, and check out the Age of Sigmar app. It will tell you everything you need to know. And I'm like, what do you mean it'll tell me everything you need to know? And he was like, well, you can download all the battle scrolls, you can have a look at them and make a decision. He says the only thing it doesn't give you is points value. And I was like, right, okay. He said it does though if you pay 99p per month. And I went, hang on a minute, I don't really want to pay 99p. He's like, you don't have to, it's a choice. So I'm not paying 99p per month at the moment. So I'm just using the free version. And I've got to say, I'm very impressed because in it, you have, and they've updated it for Malign Importance as well. There's an actual tab for Malign Importance, which allows you to find out more about it. So, but anyway, let's get back to what is generally in the app. So you go to War Scrolls, and it has every allegiance, so order, chaos, death, destruction, and scenery. And you click on that, and then you click on the faction you want. So in my case, it was looking at Skaven, so I went straight down to Skaven. And the first thing I realised is that the Skaven has been separated into clans, which I quite like. And of course, the Pestilence clan is the one that's had the main releases. There's been a couple of Skyry bits, but there's nothing really for Moulder, and there's a few bits here and there for different things. But so I was like, oh, well, let's check out Skaven Pestilence. And it allowed me to see what models they were saying were available, what models I had, what models I didn't have. I could download the War Scroll and look at what all their stats were and all their abilities. And it kind of piqued my interest because the more I got into looking at each clan, the more I realised I've got those, got that, got one of them, got one of them. And I thought, well, maybe it is time to get back into AOS. So that's what's triggered it. But I thought the first thing I should do is actually take you through this app. And like I say, it doesn't matter what allegiance you have. You can look at any of the allegiances, any of the models. So say you were thinking about dipping your toe in AOS and you were like, oh, well, which order shall I do? Let's do Order of Death because it's coming with the new Malign Importance area. And then you go, well, what faction? Let's look at Tomb Kings. And if you're an old Tomb Kings player and you've got a Bone Giant and a Casket of Souls, it gives you all of the available War Scrolls for all of those. You just download them and you can take a look at them and you can know all the stats. It stops you having to buy any books. It means if you've got an old army that you want to field and you don't want to buy books, you don't have to, and all those things. Now, if you are going to use it like you would have used the old sort of books that they had back in the day, the old codexes for what was codexes for Warhammer Fantasy, my advice would be maybe download it to a tablet. The only thing I found with the phone version is that when you use the actual War Scrolls, they give you a large version of it. So if I go find a Skaven Pestilence one, so I'll go to the Plague Monk version. They give you the full page. Now, I don't know if you can see that there, but basically that's the full page of what is in the book. Now, you'd have thought that sounds okay, that's the full page of what's in the book, but it's small. So you have to zoom in, and the moment you zoom in, you can't look at the whole thing as one. Now, for an old player like me who's used to having the books, it's why I went and bought the Skaven Pestilence book, because it allows me to see, and why I invested in going down a Skaven Pestilence road, because it's the only one that's got a battle tome right now. So even though I've got stuff from Clan Eshin, stuff from Clan Skyry, I'll use the app for that, but I'll use the book for the Pestilence stuff. So it's one of those, it's whether, and this is why I'm saying, if you're going to use it as an actual usage when you go to the shop or when you're playing with your mates, I would suggest downloading it on a tablet because it will be bigger and it will allow you to read all that without having to zoom in as much, and you won't have to scroll across the screen to see what you need to see. So that's my piece of advice with it, is if, depending on how you're going to use the app, if you're going to use it for actually in game, then fair enough. If you're going to use it just for looking stuff up like I've done, it's brilliant. And it allows old players to field all their old models. It has stats for all their old models. So like I say, if you are an old fantasy player and you were like, I don't want to try AOS, no, I'm not interested. And of course, when AOS started, you had no point system, which you now have with the General's Handbook, which you can get on here for a price. And there are certain things you can get on here for a price. So there is sort of paying thing involved in it, but you don't have to go down that route. You could go and buy the battle tomes yourself. So like I say, it depends on how you're going to actually use the app. But personally, I find it really helpful for me to get back involved with Age of Sigmar. And if you're interested in getting Age of Sigmar, but you don't want a big outlay, free download to your tablet or your phone, or any phone, Android or iOS, got both versions. So I would suggest going and checking it out and seeing what you think. It's made me decide to go back to Age of Sigmar, and hopefully I'll be playing a few games in the near future and I'll let you know how they go. Next week, I'll be doing the Start Collecting box and I'll be doing unboxing for that. And I'm probably going to do 2 videos because I'm going to do the unboxing, which will have a lot of obviously models in it because it has 22 models in the box. But I'll also do another video talking about whether the Start Collecting boxes are worth their money. Personally, for me, they're a little bit of a big outlay, but I've managed to create a Skaven Pestilence. By the time I've added my other Skaven Pestilence into it, I've got a solid 1,000-point army straight off the bat. So I will talk about that next week. Week after, again, we'll be looking at the book and a couple of other bits and pieces. But I hope you're enjoying the AOS stuff, and I'll see you next time.